like Facebook, you can schedule using there, but using these third-party apps.
Like Facebook,
There's 8 people online.
Okay,
Oh, wow.
so this is gonna be the tricky
So
thing.
put up there, instead of DVR Utah, can we put up Turf War gear?
Yeah.
I actually have helped my buddy do some marketing on his, and he has some incredible marketing.
How do you spell it?
Turf, TURF, War gear.
Do you want to introduce her?
Yeah, I will. We ready to go?
Yeah, we're ready to go at 8:30.
All
Well,
right.
clock's a minute off.
Can they leave comments as they're doing
Yeah.
this?
Yeah, they
Okay,
can.
because I'm gonna engage them.
You ready? I have commitment issues, so don't engage too
No,
far.
you will get over those today. We're also having a mental health segment, mindfulness,
Oh,
getting
yes.
over big obstacles, dealing with COVID, teenagers,
You got Instagram, right?
divorce.
All right, welcome everybody. We're going to get started. Welcome to Bagels of Business. Today we're excited to have Emily Ashby from the SBDC and a bunch of other cool stuff. Emily is a Instagram genius. She's written some curriculum around digital marketing for a couple colleges here locally, and she's becoming an expert on PPP loan forgiveness.
Did you just say genius? That one makes me uncomfortable. I didn't know
PPP
about
loan
genius.
forgiveness, how's that?
Oh no, even worse.
Okay, perfect. So she's downstairs at the SBDC. If you have any questions afterwards, that's how you get a hold of her. I'm just going to jump into it because we've been chatting here for about 15 minutes. It's been pretty cool. So
Eat
Emily,
the bagels.
come on up.
So I hope they all have a virtual bagel. Oh yeah, thank you. We're following the governor's mandates all around. We have social distance. We have wiped each other's mouths and faces and shoes and
For the record.
and camera, so you're okay out there. So hi, welcome. I'm Emily Ashby, and we're just going to dive in. You can look me up online to get credentials, but we have 45 minutes to get as much information as we can out there. So I feel like I have a pointer, but I don't. It's just my phone, so you're going to be my lady. Okay, here we go. 3 tips for Instagram. Go ahead. Next slide. Or maybe not. Okay, here we go. So before I get started with any digital marketing ever, I always like to point back to the purpose of digital marketing, which for most businesses is to get people to go to a website to make a sale, right? So unless you are selling in the social media realm or your business is social media, then the majority of businesses are trying to get you to go back to your website. So with that in mind, you have to think about Instagram, since we're talking about Instagram today, as a tool to get people to the website. But even before that, everything you do with marketing should be pointing towards your mission vision, right? So if you don't understand what your mission is as a business or as a brand, it's going to be really hard to get any sort of cohesive messaging out, and nothing I say today will matter. So keep that in mind. And one of my go-tos to help understand a mission vision is Simon Sinek. And if you haven't heard about Simon Sinek, he has a really great TED Talk called Start With Why, and it's about 10 years old. So some of the things are a little bit outdated, but it's really great at honing in and helping you understand that your business, this is kind of his repeat phrase, is please don't, people, okay, there's a lot of times. Early morning, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. It's his big, okay, change that, no, I'm not talking about that. So people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And basically, and I rewatched this, I'm teaching a class up with you, and we rewatched this again, and this was one of the most powerful takeaways of the day, because it really makes you reflect on the why. The money is a result, but before you can have that result, you really have to understand why, and then that will come out and kind of trickle down through all your marketing and through Instagram. So just keep that in mind as the foundation. I also want to say that whenever I work from Instagram, usually I'll say this, again, this is a tool, so how does your website look? Because we can do all this work and I can teach you the tricks, but if someone then goes to your website and your website is polished and it's not featuring the best of what you have to offer, then you're not going to get a sale anyway, but regardless of what the product is, unless you know someone or anyway, there are some cases. So I shouldn't say blanket statement, but it will be harder typically. So today, with all of those other things taken care of, assuming you know your why, your mission vision, and your website looks good, then we can start talking about tips. Can you please just go back? That's okay. Look how excited. They're like, move it along. This is great. I get it. So these are the 3 tips we're going to talk about today. We're going to focus on engagement versus followers. We're going to talk a little bit about how to be discoverable, and then how to post to your target market. So we have about 15 minutes for each of these topics. So I will try to talk slowly, but just know that I'm sure this will be recorded and you can always find more information later about that. So here we go. Number 1, drum roll. Everybody pull out your phones and Monique, will you hit the button for number 1? Okay, please keep the drum roll. Okay, here we go. So go ahead and grab your phones, and I just want to start with a simple exercise. When you're looking at, just kind of flip through the people that you're following for a second. I have my phone here. Just kind of get on. If you don't have an account, it might be a good one to start with if you're going to utilize it for your business, become familiar with the platform. But as you're kind of scrolling through, go ahead and click your little home button on the bottom left-hand corner, and these are people you're following, so you can kind of scroll through. And sometimes you'll see that there's people that have a lot of followers. And their feeds don't look really great. And you're like, how did they get so many followers? This is a very common question. And so the first thing I do is I'll look into who's following them. And what I do is I'll scroll down, like go through, click on followers. So let's say you can click on an account. I apologize for not having that all connected. I didn't think I was going to just talk about this, but I just am right now. So click on followers, and you can see everyone that's following that account. And if they look legitimate, and by legitimate, I mean there's a profile picture. It's not XYXY love you forever, or like watch this, or anything inappropriate, or anything with a lot of triple X's in a row. Anything like that, most likely those are not real accounts. So usually you can find them by, I do this for a minute, then I stop, and then I can kind of see it. If they look legitimate, or if I click on them, and they look like a legitimate account, one way you can tell is if they have a really low, if they're following, people following them is really low, if they posted like 2,000 posts, that is a kind of an indicator. Now, Instagram is really honed in on these bot accounts and has really been good about like penalizing people who are buying followers, because that could be one reason why they have so many followers and there's a disconnect with what their feed looks like. The second thing to look at is, if you don't really know or can't recognize, is look at the ratio between followers and engagement. So when we talk about engagement on Instagram, we're talking about like, follow, comment, share, and save. And these actually weigh differently in the algorithm. The biggest one Instagram most recently is trying to promote is save. Because if the algorithm is trying to decide whether or not your picture is a great picture and the people that have been following your feed or similar feeds would like that, the only way they can really tell for us from a physical standpoint is if we as consumers are clicking one of these things. And save weighs heavier, because if that content was so good that you're willing to save it, then that means it must be good and it will organically get into more feeds. So keep that in mind when we're talking about engagement. And so when we're talking about like those 10,000 followers versus so we're talking more about engagement and less on the number of followers and more on your influence. So blah, 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 words. Let me just say this. So say an account has, let's look at someone's account. Somebody throw out one of their competitors' accounts. Let's see how their ratio is for followers versus engagement. Does anybody, I guess maybe we should say competitor, just any account. How about Small Business Development Center? That's the one I'm running. Let me do. I know. Maybe we should be careful with that. John, what's your personal? No, I'm kidding. I'll just do the Small Business Development Center. I just started it a few weeks ago, but I've been trying to always model what I'm teaching. So right now we have 444 followers. The target for a good brand, like if Coke was looking for an influencer, they would look not just at how many followers you have, because we don't know how many of those are legit, right? Or not, or good, or engaged, or potential customers. What they look at is engagement. So if your engagement is 4 to 6% of your total you didn't know you were doing math. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not a mathematician either. But it's 4 to 6% of your followers, then you're in a pretty good space. So for us, we have 440 followers, and I want to figure out 4 to 6%. So go back to 6th grade math. And I say that just because I have a 6th grader who we just did this with recently. And I'm like, I know that one.
10%, that's easy. 10%.
10% easy. And there's an easy way to do it too. There we go. Mr. Math in the back. Or if you're like me and you want the actual 4% to know the lowest that I need to get, I go 400 times, remember this is of, okay, I have no business. being in math. Anyway, times 0.04. So this would be the low end of my engagement. And at the high end would be 0.06, so that would be to 24. So this would be my target if I was having a good post. So now I'm good, like a good post. So now I'm gonna go back into my Instagram. And so we add up, this is really fun too. Click on your last post, and then you can do this for yourself. So click on that last post, and where it says View Insights, does everyone see on your post where it says View Insights? If you haven't utilized this feature, it's super awesome. You can see what the insights are for that post. So right at the bottom of the square, raise your hand if you cannot see this, and Paul will come around and help you. Paul's like, no, please don't make me do it. Okay, and then it says Post Insights. Does everyone see? Just give me kind of a nod or something. Everyone, anyone, can they chat out there?
Yeah.
Hey, chatty chat, YouTube live. They're raising their hands.
I don't know where it is.
Okay, so right in your photo, put my mask back on. And then this little blip will come up, and this is really fun. So all you have to do is add up those, and it will give you your engagement. Now, you don't have access to your competitors' engagement, but you can estimate based on adding up likes, comments, shares, and saves. So I added up, we have 17, 18, I have 19 for that last post. So I'm right in that target. And you can go through and see sometimes they're higher or lower, but as you're exponentially growing, if you're staying in that space, you know that your followers are at a good, engagement rate for what you're putting out there. So that's another way to tell if competitors are legitimate or not. Is one woman's like, I feel like my competitor has like 10,000 followers, and I'm like, well, let's see how many are engaging. 3 likes. I'm like, well, we have an issue. There's a disconnect there. So it's not always about followers, because guess what? You can have an influencer. You can have someone's account. For example, I helped a local talent agency, and they trained the talent how to build their own social media. And there was the most beautiful model. She was super cute, super personable. Her feed was amazing. She had like 2,000 followers. No, I think at the time she had like 1,800 followers. Every single one of her posts, she'd get 800 likes. Every single one. So if you're a brand, a fashion brand, and you want someone who has influence, you want to get somebody like her, who, even though she has 2,000 followers, her engagement is like almost 50%. So people are going to listen to her versus paying someone who has 50,000 followers and has 100 likes, and they don't really care about that brand. So, question from the crowd.
Someone online said,
Yeah.
please address how to best use Instagram for promoting my new podcast production company and podcasts in general.
Okay, let's save that one to the end.
Okay.
I think that's a great question. And we'll open up question and answers at the end too, because that's a really good question.
Okay.
And I think that there's probably a lot of people that have that question out there too. So anyway, any questions? So just keep in mind, focus more on the engagement. As you're growing, if you have good content and you're you're curating this well, your followers will organically come. But just keep in mind, just because you don't have a lot of followers doesn't mean that you can't have the influence. So questions, comments before we move on to number 2?
No, we're saving them to the end.
All the questions? Okay, write them down and message on the chart to Monique. Awesome. Okay, moving on to point number 2, be discoverable. Okay, this is one of the biggest mistakes that I see. People get, especially small business owners, are like, I'm trying, I'm posting content, I'm doing the stories, I'm doing the reels, I'm not getting any engagement. I'm so frustrated. That's fun too. Okay, yeah, back to 2. So they're really frustrated, and I look at their feed, and guess what? They're very difficult to find if you can't find them at all. And until 3 days ago, this just barely changed, but I'm gonna focus on, because I'm not sure yet what the algorithm is going to do now with this new change on Instagram, but as of 3 days ago, there were only 4 ways that you could actually be found on Instagram. So all of this, like this is a little bio, all of this from here down to here, all of these words were not being searched. Supposedly 4 days ago, 3 days ago now, 4 days ago, Instagram changed that. So now this or captions, before 4 days ago, it didn't matter what you put in your captions. The only way people could find you is through your username, your name, your location, and hashtags. So that's why hashtags are such a big deal. People who don't use hashtags, you can have the best content in the world and you won't be found. Because hashtags are those search terms that people will search. So do we have anybody that wants to volunteer? Maybe someone out there that we can just kind of go through the account and kind of analyze it before I kind of point out Oh, look, everybody's gonna put their heads down.
We're all scared.
Okay. Yeah, okay, tell me your name.
Joe?
Joe, cute Joe. Okay, tell me your username. You don't have to put on your mask. I won't even come sit by you or anything.
Dang it.
Oh, you want me to come sit by you? Okay.
X-ray go right.
Okay, so what is your username? Your handle?
XO go right.
Oh, XO. J-O?
Yeah.
B-R-I-G-H-T.
Yeah.
Okay, so before I put that in, let's talk about this. XO Joe Wright. Now, this is one of the first things that I like to talk about is kind of the connection. When someone comes to an Instagram account, we're saturated all the time, right, with whether or not something connects with us or not. So if your potential target market can't see who you are and what you do really fast, and if you're brick and mortar where you're located, you've lost them, okay? So all of these things, especially your username, your logo or icon or whatever profile picture, and your name, especially all need to be together, okay? Be in the same, like, consistent. So right now it's Joe, right?
Yeah, Joe right.
Okay, I don't know if you can see these YouTubers, but right now I have no idea what she does, right? Because all I see is XO Joe Bright. So if I was searching for whatever your niche is, I still don't know what that is. So now let's go the opposite. Let's go to, does anybody have a business example that we can do a search term before we look up the username? So for example, is there a bakery? Someone have, think of a business, or we could just throw it out there. Let's say we're trying to find.
Just go to like meters, see if meters. has-
Meters, great, okay. So we all know Meters is a bakery. So if I'm gonna look up, you can do this with me, just put on your search. The reason I like to have everyone search independently is because when I search something, we all will have different results based on what our other likes and preferences were that we've already given Instagram. So for example, I went into a dental office to help everyone kind of get on the same page. And there were 4 of us there, and we all typed in the competitor, and for some it came up, for some it didn't, because of what they've liked already, and so that's going to weigh in. So what I like to do is kind of pick something that maybe we all haven't searched. So go ahead and put in local bakery. That's probably what I would search if I was looking for meters. And here it comes up. I don't even have meters in my top at all, in my top sign at all. So this tells me 2 things, really. Meters doesn't have 2 words in their username or their name, or even hashtags. If you put tags, let's see if they come up. I'd have to go to local bakery in the tags and then search. I won't take time to do that just because we don't have so much time. But so when I looked up local bakery, guess what? Meters did not come up.
As big as they are for around the area, they still don't come up.
They still don't come up, but they can change that in 2
Yeah.
seconds. And this is what you can do. This is your takeaway. All they have to do is put, in fact, now let's look up meters. Now I'm going to type in meters because it should come up.
Yeah, it is.
Meters Bakery and Cafe. Okay, so bakery is in their name, but for their username, guess what? They only have meters. There's no local or bakery, so not found there. This actually has meters Bakery and Cafe, so bakery came up. But guess what? When I put local, it automatically included the algorithm that we needed something in our area. And one of the first things that came up was Arizona. Why? Because they did not complete their bio with their location. So if you don't put your location, especially as brick and mortar, no one will find you in the area. So those were the 4 main ways that you can, I'm just going to focus on those today. One of the quickest ways to get more traction is by changing your name and username. And I'll give you one more example of that. The talent agency I was working with before, Moda Talent Management is what they're called here locally. And their name they had put was Moda Talent Management is username. And of course, the same here and there. Well, they were getting like 250 impressions a day. But I'm like, if I was looking for them, I would never put in talent management. I'd put in talent agent, local talent management, or local talent agency Utah, or something like that. So I changed Moda Talent Management to Moda Talent Agency. just by changing that one word, because then it became searchable for what the clients were looking, or potential customers were looking for, they went from 250 impressions to 2,500 in a day. And I've seen this happen time and time again, because people can find you. It's about being discovered. If you don't have the words to match, it's not like Google, where Google goes through every single word and tries to match. Instagram only has certain key features up until 3 days ago, and these were the ways to do it. So, for example, for me at SBDC, if I was to put SBDC Utah, how many people search for that? I didn't even know SBDC existed when I started my business. So I think what would our target look for? And they're looking for small business help. I needed to put SBDC in there to be recognizable and also recognize where our funding comes from, but I didn't have to do it in the name or username, because this isn't what people are going to be searching for here locally. What they're going to want is small business development, says who we are, where we are in SLC. My icon actually was my class I'm teaching at the U. We actually brainstormed a new icon because I had a rocket, and there was like an engineer in the class. She was like, that means this. And I'm like, nope, let's brainstorm. Got 40 more followers just by changing the icon. People could identify with the little shop. And then here, this is a huge way. Small Business Help Utah SBDC. And you can change this every 2 weeks, and that's what I do. So they made that rule for people like me, because I would just get in and keep changing everything until I got the results I wanted. Now they're like, hold on there, Emily, you can't just do that.
It's so annoying.
So yeah, but what I do is, like, for example, now that let's talk about here's Joe Bright. I still don't know what you do, right? So let's say, let's see. First of all, what do you do? What would this is our everyone to do? Put yourself in your customers, your like ideal customer, your last customer shoes. What did they need to search for to find you? Like, what would they enter? If they didn't know Joe, if they did not know Joe, because a lot of the people aren't known by their names unless you're a celebrity. So putting your name, even if you're an artist, I just helped an artist and her name was Jen Argyle, cute name, but no one is going to search her name yet. So she had to put Jen Argyle, wood burning artist, and who cares how long it is right now? The most important thing is that you're found, right? And when people start typing in Jen Argyle Wood, her name's going to pop up. They don't even need the whole handle anyway. It's more important you have those keywords in there. Okay, so Joe, what would be a keyword that I would search to find what you do?
Holistic health coach,
Okay. Cool.
wellness.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I don't know how to spell holistic, so I'm being the lay customer. I know how to spell it.
No, but that's a good point, is I've always learned, you need to keep this as simple for a 6th grader. Seriously, if you think that way, with words and things, people will find you. Because not all people are.
And we get very much caught up in our niches, right? Like, it's true.
See, and now
We might want to say 5th grader for some. I don't know, maybe 3rd. But it's a good point. It's a great point. But it's true. And that nichey thing can get really distracted. Like for this, and she's awesome. Jen's awesome, so I don't think she'll mind me sharing. But her industry is pyrography. And it took me 10 years to learn how to say it.
That pyro?
Pyro, because it's wood burning. I don't know the Greek roots. All I know is she had that as one of her words, and I was like, okay, I can't even and I have Invisalign, so it made it even worse. I feel like I was like spitting on everyone. But we took it back, and that's when you have to talk to me. I want to get your cute burned wood jewelry for Christmas, but I can't find you, so I can't discover you. So let's put in wellness, and I'm going to put in, what city are you in? A location is a good thing. Or are you virtual? Are you all over?
I always put Park City because I'm like, I don't want people really knowing exactly where I am.
Yeah. No.
But yeah, like general, like Salt Lake City or Park
You
City.
could put Utah or.
And you do Park City because it kind of is that influential area too, because I'm reading.
I want
what
to
you're
attract
saying.
people there too.
Yeah, because you want to attract those people who can pay and use your services, so that's the ones you're looking for.
Right, and location is a really easy way to hone in with, even if you're online with the bigger picture, really easy way is to geotag and to use locations. And by geotag, I mean always fill that out, and on your stories, always geotag and hashtag locations, because it's the quickest way I know to get featured for free. That's a whole conversation for another day. So I'm just gonna put in Wellness Utah, and I don't see you, but now I'm gonna put in Exo Joe Bright, And you can test this with your own at home. Think about those search terms, or actually even better, have a friend or a neighbor who's someone who isn't connected to you, because they're going to be following you anyway. The algorithm will know that. So it's good to get strangers searching like me, so that way you can see that. Okay, so I'm clicking on Joe Bright, and Joe, you just have Joe Bright as your name, right? With these things, with these cute, what do you call these? These dots over here.
I don't know, but I like them.
They are really cool. The hard part is that's one of the main ways people can find you, and I don't even know how to make that on my phone to search.
Okay.
So there's no way anybody, the way that they would find you is this, not this. You will not have one match.
I like what you said, and what she just backed it up with is find what your customers, put yourself in their shoes, what they would look for. She likes that. She loves it.
And you
It's
could put
wonderful.
that, and
But
Joe,
how
you
do they
could put
find
that down here as part of your like signature. But here, you're gonna want to put wellness, Utah wellness coach, healthy living, things that people are gonna search for here, and then you could do your cool whatever.
Okay.
And then I would definitely put location,
Okay.
because you're gonna attract more people. You're more likely for your local business to attract the locals than out of state. Like people like to support locals, so just in general, I would recommend doing that. So, okay, I think we just need to let me just point out a few more things. I already did actually. Oh no, we lost a follower since, oh no, we gained a follower. Oh, phew. Practice what I preach. Someone's playing a joke on me. Just kidding. This was taken this morning and now I have 440. So yes, working. Okay, and I do, like I said, every 2 weeks, I will change this up. Like then in a few weeks, I'll go entrepreneur help or Utah entrepreneur classes or Utah entrepreneur advising, consulting to attract what different things that people are searching for. And then I watch. Okay, one more quick comment on that last post where you click view insights when we were collecting our engagement. Just want to backtrack. If you swipe up like this, it gives you even more information. This is the stuff I love. So now I can see how many impressions that I was able to get from hashtags. So now I can start evaluating how effective my hashtags even are. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. How many people found me from home, which means that those keywords, that these search terms are being used for my profile, hashtags, and others. So anyway, and the other thing is you can see, was that post even getting ROI? In this last post, we had 6 profile visits and 3 website clicks, which isn't bad if I'm only have 440 followers and I just had 19 likes. That means my engagement is almost 50% from that post. So we're growing, we're kind of getting in that target. Okay, be discoverable. Tip 2. Should we move on? Okay, here we go. We're kind of going back to post to your target market. This is so fun. This is so much more fun just to tell people what you want to tell them. You're in your business feed and then all of a sudden you see somebody's puppy or their children popping up. Not only is that confusing to your brand, but you're like, wait, but that's who I am. They say we should be authentic. Well, is that what your target wants to see? Now, if you're an influencer and you are your brand, absolutely, that's part of who you are, right? Or maybe for Joe, that's going to be part of her lifestyle. She's going to post herself. She's going to post herself working out, living her wellness life so she can promote that. But for people who have a small, business and are trying to promote their products, all of a sudden going from talking about brand or industry information and then all of a sudden grandma dies and you post about grandma dying, it's very confusing for customers. And so really put yourself in that customer's shoes, and it isn't about you. I know most things in our lives are about us, but this isn't. You want to really think about what it is that your target market consumer wants to see. Okay, go ahead and click the next one because I think I have mine. Okay, no, go back. We'll go back to the picture. Sorry. And I just want to talk about that target. Sometimes target market can be overwhelming for like new entrepreneurs. It's like, what? Target what? And really what we're just talking about is a customer that would come to you and buy something, right? So if you think about who that customer might be, and if you've had sales, even think about the last customer or the last 5 customers that you've had, and try to kind of get some trend, in business, you always want to look at trends and patterns. Don't just make decisions based on one thing. Well, Instagram doesn't work for me because I did this post and nobody engaged, or stories don't work for me. Well, it takes time. And whenever I help with an account, like if someone hires me to take over an account, it takes 3 to 6 weeks for me to hone in on that niche and then be able to get, my goal is 100 followers a week. I think that's reasonable. I think in regular life, that if I was to meet 7 to 10 people who would be attracted to me and what my product is and be willing to follow me or engage with me in some way, that's a pretty great day. I'm willing to guess most of us, unless you have brick and mortar, aren't seeing that many people in a day that are willing to engage with your brand. So my goal is to get good engagement. I want good followers, and so it's 100 followers a week. Well, I can't get that in 3 days, and I can't get that over a weekend, or if there's a holiday. There's a lot of different factors that are going to help, that are going to be able to weigh in on whether or not people may or may not engage. Not to mention my content, my time of day, my caption, and all these other things that have to do with presenting your best self and your best on Instagram. So I look from 3 to 6 weeks, I'll look for those trends and patterns. And usually by that point, I'll have a list of usable hashtags that are going to generate traffic. And a lot of it I find, just from what I showed you, is on those posts, I can go down and say, oh, look, 50 people found us from these hashtags. Let's reinvent these hashtags. If you copy and paste hashtags, it's a black hat practice, and Instagram will deem you because you look like a bot. Anything you do to look like you're not a fake account or that you're a fake account looks poorly on you and your account. So you don't want to copy and paste, but what you can do is over periods of time, kind of play with these hashtags. Like one that I always will put in is photo of the day. I always get inquiries because I think across the board people are always looking at photo of the day. Instagram is meant to be a photo sharing app, so photos always resonate more than words. Unless you train your audience to look for quotes and words, anything with like a picture and then like sail across, you will not get as much engagement. We don't want words. I think the statistic is our brains process photos 66,000 times faster, which sounds like a lot, and I don't know how they track it. But the point is that if you want to connect, they say a picture tells the story. What is it? Yeah, what do they say? A story. A picture tells the story better than
1,000 words.
you know what I'm talking about.
A picture tells a
Or
story.
if you can't remember the quote, then everyone remembers you can't remember the quote, and then that's what they remember. Anyway, so yes, so photos are huge, right? And we won't even get into content today. That's going to be a whole lesson for another day. But the point is that you are looking at trends and patterns, that you're understanding who that target market is. And once you have 100 followers on Instagram, you have access to the analytics, those insights, that it can start saying, look, your followers are on Saturdays at noon, or they're in the evening. One thing I learned, I helped the Wasatch Studio Tour last year before COVID hit build their Instagram from 0 to 1,200. And again, I had 3 months. So I hit my 100 followers a week, which is my goal. I feel like that's reasonable. I spend about 20 to 30 minutes a day when I'm doing that, so I'm not losing my mind. But I'm also learning to connect at different times. And so what I realized with that after a month is that if I wanted to really hone in on that demographic of artists and featuring artists and getting people that love art in our community excited about the Wasatch Studio Tour, they were on at like 6 o'clock in the morning or 10 or 11 at night. And that wouldn't have happened if I would have just said that on one of the later or Hootsuite or Buffer, one of these automatic posters. I may not have been able to see those trends and patterns as readily because I'm watching people engage and then engaging back in real time. And at the beginning, I do recommend doing that, especially if you're just starting out and you don't know who your target market is. The more hands-on you can be, the better. And sidebar, another great tip that I would totally recommend is even if you want to hire a social media marketer, you won't even know if they're doing their job or not if you don't know the basics of what the Instagram or what these social media platforms are going to do. And I've seen a lot of small businesses owners come to me in frustration. They're like, I'm paying someone $1,000 a month and we're not even getting any sales. Well, they're probably not doing a lot of these basic things that I just pointed. Yeah, they're posting, but are they using the right hashtags? Is your username and your name optimized? Are you discoverable, right? They're paying all this money, and I'm like, well, let me just teach you a few things, like in these classes, and then you at least know the right questions to ask your marketers when they come in. Because I go to these classes, I read, like I'm always open to like learning as much as I can, just like this new algorithm change. And you'll find that some people really do know what they're talking about if they've got skin in the game. I have like 10 accounts that I'm constantly trying things on. They have different numbers. My dog has 12,000 followers. I have my family. I have 3 businesses, SBDC, because they're all different. And then I just test the crap out of everything, so I can figure out what the most optimized way to do things are. So That's what I'd recommend on your own feeds. It's just A/B test, figure it out. Especially if you have less than 500 or 1,000 followers, you have nothing to lose. You don't have enough people to offend when you're still trying to. I don't mean offend. Turn off. Don't offend anyone. You know, I get closer to you. I'm actually 6 feet away from her right now, and when she has her hands up for you, the crowd.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
So, somebody is asking,
Okay.
I'm hearing that I need to change my username. If I change it, what happens to my links that are out there and current followers?
So current followers will stay the same. Your backlinks will not connect. But guess what? It won't matter if those backlinks don't have your keywords in them anyway. Because the people who have already found you have found you. So if you want more people to find you and for you to be more discoverable, then turn on your rock music for sure. I don't even know what that was fun. Did not see that coming from the
It was
back.
90s though.
Oh wow, 90s. Impressive.
Now, where'd that come from?
That's fun. Darn, just got a little
So the
sidetracked. Oh, so
followers-
username. So right.
So
So
your
like,
followers
yeah,
will still be following you.
Yep.
You just changed your
you
username.
change your username so that you're more
Okay.
discoverable.
Yeah.
So give me an example. Have someone help you out there. Give us an example of a username and help us create to make it better. For example, my friend that's Jen, the pyrographer. Try to say that. It's not easy. And you also might say other
Well,
words.
let's even take Joe's for a minute,
Okay.
okay? So she has XO Joe Bright.
Yes.
Why not do Joe Bright Health and Wellness?
Yes. Or why does Joe Bright need to be in there? Because she's still trying to get known. Until she's like Oprah or Madonna or Chris Pratt or Chris Pine or
But is
Chris
Joe Bright
Hemsworth.
her name though, for business?
It is, but she can put that. Can you go back to the sample?
Yeah.
But she can put her name in the bio. Hi, I'm Joe Bright. Actually, just help the client with this because Abby Da Yoga is her name. So, but nobody knows who she is. So it doesn't even help if she's in. I mean, yes, you can put your name like in the name area, but right now people are searching for those tag words. So I would recommend, like in this space, I would totally put user, like for example, wellness. What would you like people? Is it wellness or holistic or what do you think? Where would people?
It's
What are
like-
these keywords?
Holistic healing, mindfulness.
Okay, so I would probably, because healing is a big search term too. So I would say, and I just know this because I've been helping a lot of people in this space. If I were you, I'd research the crap out of it. I'd be hashtagging wellness, see your competitors, see who's coming up. Put all of that, like those words, connect those words together. And these two, if you notice, like, okay, pull up your phones again, go to your own accounts and look at your followers right now. I'll do a quick how-to and then we'll jump, but I lost my
So
phone.
you're not saying, at this point, you're not saying work on branding with this. You're saying just work on findability with
You
this.
could discoverability because you could have the best branding in the world, and that's what's happening. Like Kneaders, they're huge, right? But I couldn't find them when I put in local bakery because they have not put local. First of all, they don't have a geo. They haven't used their geographic location. So if someone here is going to type in small business help Utah, guess what's going to come up? We are, because I have small business Utah.
See, I typed in small business support and
We didn't come up, and it wouldn't because I don't have support anywhere. In order for that to come up, I'm gonna have, and this is good because maybe every 2 weeks, like I said, I can change my username and I could put small business support next time and then get different people. But you can only change this 2 weeks because of people like me and you who are like, wait, let's try this one. Or entrepreneur, and then with SBDC too, like I started at the beginning, but usually in algorithms, the first few words way heavier. You know this if you're a blogger or you're doing any titles or metadata or anything like that. So I test that out too. I'll test all that out. Please. Yes.
Someone
Okay.
else is asking, if your business is online, should you put your location in the bio? To clarify, entire bio is searchable now as of 3 days ago.
So as of 3 days ago, yes, these words are searched. Now they said they're rolling it out. Time will tell. And with anything that's new that any social media platform rolls out, there's going to be people, they're going to test it. So do it. I would utilize this now. Like I kind of have because there are keywords in here, but yes. And then back to the question, which is,
Location.
Location, yeah.
yes. So even if you're virtual, the thing that location does, one, especially here, is it puts you in a geographic search. So people are searching businesses near me, you're gonna come up, even though they may not be looking for you. Again, it's about being discoverable, right? So, but even if you are a business that is nationwide, people love to support local. So if they see you're out of Salt Lake City or Utah, that could be helpful. The other thing is, if you want to hone in, it's gonna be easier for you to get clients or customers if you did put Utah, like even here, than it is to put USA, right? But especially if you're a brick and mortar, absolutely 100% you have to have a location because people look who you are, what you do, where you're located. Even if you're not a brick and mortar, that's important. Yeah.
I put in Salt Lake SBDC and you guys don't come up.
Yep, that's because I haven't put Salt Lake. I haven't spelled out Salt Lake.
So I just typed in, co-working space Utah,
We did
and
not
I
do
get tons of international. Like they're all in foreign languages.
Interesting.
So I don't get.
Yeah.
I mean, the mill's nowhere. And
So, and does the
We
mail
have
have an Instagram
we don't have
though?
Instagram.
Well, that would be that. But the other thing is that
That would be right.
that's a
one
good
thing
thing
we need to know.
That's a great point. You have to have an Instagram account. You don't have accounts on Instagram. I'm sorry, I should have prefaced with that.
We're gonna do
You should have started with that.
We gotta go way back.
So there's this thing called the www.
Yeah, next month, we're gonna do just random searching.
I love this is great though. Keep it coming. Keep going. I love it because this is actually helping me brainstorm. I do need to add some of these words.
Yeah.
But we can't. So I tried it. It's like fishing. We can go like this, and I can be like, okay, I'm gonna get the one person that actually knows how to spell co-working habitation space or whatever, or I throw out the net and I go, okay, we're gonna go small business Utah, see, and then the little fish are gonna come out, and then most of them will stay and they'll be like, oh, great, virtual meetings, virtual meetings, holiday market. And before that, I can't remember. Oh, I said classes and workshops. It's a little thing to register here, right? If you can get a call to action, you only have like 130 characters here. So I often get asked, why should I be using emojis? And I go back to that principle that we resonate with photos faster than words. So if you have a little picture that can say your message faster, I go with that. Of course, you don't want overkill because you want it to be simple. But for example, this saved me 4 characters because I did write out love. This just signposts. This is a really easy way to improve your feed instead of reading a paragraph. Because for a lot of people, that's very PTSD. For many years, if you've gone through any sort of school, unless you're an English teacher, bless your heart, even you English teacher will have more help, and even still, like if you look at manuals, if it's signpost, if you have those bullet points, it's easy for you to pull out that information. So if you can do that for your audience, it's gonna be easier for them to connect with you. So blah, blah, blah. Keep going.
Bonnie is asking, is there a text that you've put together that we could read?
Yes, that will be coming soon. And we also have a podcast coming out, Bryce and I, and Paul Wolford is our producer. Little plug for Paul, but yes. And then, yes, we're in the process. I'm here at the SBDC part-time, and then I do consulting, and I have my own stuff on the side, which I won't talk about because it's not the space, but there is stuff out there. But I will give you my go-to. Social Media Examiner is one of my favorite go-tos. And Neil Patel is another social media. Those are the two I'm going to have you research. They're always NEILPAT. Okay, should we take some question and answers? Is time up? We're at 45 minutes. Oh my gosh.
I'm assuming you can't do multiple locations. Is that one?
No. But what you could do, like JoJo back there, and she puts in, and you also don't have to put your entire address. Because I don't know about you, but I don't want people coming to my house and knocking on the door for Instagram. So, but what you can do is put Salt Lake City, Utah.
But if you're brick and mortar,
If you're in a brick and mortar, absolutely, right? When people can really find you like us. But there, when you fill this out, and you just go edit profile, you go down to contact information, and then you go right in there. All you have to do is put in your city, and then you're there, or even just your state. But it's imperative because you're missing out on being discovered if you don't put your geographic location. Because when people will search Bakery, Utah, or we should do that for meters. If we put Bakery, Utah, will they come up? I don't know. But a lot of businesses don't, and I'm sure they're paying a social media marketer right now a lot of money to get the ROI. right? So they're not as discoverable as they could be. And I go through accounts all the time, and people say, look at my account, tell me what I can do better. And this is the first thing. Who you are, what you do, I can't even tell. If I can't tell from here up who you are, what you do, and what you're gonna offer me, I'm out. Then, if you don't have a location, I don't even know if that bakery is even close to my house, and I'm not going to California today to get my cupcake or cookie, right? So, okay, should we answer?
Did
Yeah.
Should you have a business? I've heard for differing perspectives that you should use your personal one, or should you have a separate business one?
So this is a really great question, and just like with your checking account for your business, I recommend always separating the two for a couple of reasons. Even if this happened at the talent agency, because these models would have their own personal brand that they've been building on the site, and they may have 1,500 followers, but it's a different audience than when you're trying to pitch to a talent agent, right? So the personal was appealing to the friends and family and, fan followers or whatever. But if she started, or he started, or they started posting, like all of a sudden all the professional photos, it would be weird to their audience. So if you've already started out with followers, even still, I'd recommend starting a new professional feed. So you're curating exactly what you want your best self to be. And that goes with all businesses. My recommendation is every post should stand alone in your feed. It's like an extension of your portfolio. Every picture, if it does not represent who you are, what you do, and put your best foot forward, don't post. When I teach, I'm like, is this a negative influence on my brand, a neutral or positive? And most right now that I see small businesses are neutral, sometimes negative. Sometimes on a restaurant, the food looks worse in the picture. It doesn't do the food. And food's already hard enough to take pictures of, right? But you want it to pop. You want to stand out. There's too much competition. So, make sure that feed is curated. And that's kind of the second thing I talk about in my series. Getting the profile, then the content, then we talk strategy. Because even if you get the right hashtags and discoverability, they come to your feed and it's crap, it doesn't matter. It's all wasted. Yes.
How do you decide how frequently you should post?
Oh my gosh. Change the slide.
Okay.
Change the slide.
Sorry. Which one? Okay.
Oh! I knew that question may come up.
Yeah.
Read your mind. Who is it out there?
MMIS Bach.
Gotcha covered. So here we go. How often should I post? So I feel, in my experience, that's the wrong question to ask. Not that there's a right or wrong question to ask, but there's more improved right question to ask. Because we should want to ask that, right? But really the question is, how often does your target market or customer want to hear from your brand, right? So think about that. If you have a dentist office that is posting everyday stories every day, are you more likely to engage with them? Maybe at the beginning, but guess what happens? You don't want to see about your dentist every single day, because maybe too, you're like, I need to pay my dental bill. Or yeah, thanks for reminding me my tooth hurts. Or sometimes you can have a negative or positive connotation even with your brand. So, but the other thing, more important thing, is that it's overwhelming. So someone who, just like the lay person, is less likely to engage with you. And this is kind of a long story, but all my stories are long, Paul, you know this. But so for example, when you are posting something, let's say that it is a dentist office and they're posting, at first you're like, yeah, and you're getting pretty high engagement. But you keep posting, and pretty soon people get less and less engaged. Like flipping through again, oh no, not another post from Allen Dental, and they stop engaging. And guess what happens? The algorithm picks that up and says, listen, they used to engage and now they're not. So that feed must not be producing as good of content, I guess that's how I say it, than they were before. Because now they're not engaging. So organically, it's going into less feeds. Does that make sense? So it only takes one crappy post. I've done this. I had interns start helping with my business. I was getting 500 likes per picture. I had it all worked out. My audience knew what I was doing. And I had these interns and they were like, you need to post about yourself. I'm like, my audience doesn't care about it. But they say you have to show your background, your story. I'm telling you. But I was like, hey, let's do it. What have I got to lose? And I'll show this. Sure enough, I post a picture of me and my son. We have 500, dropped down to 150 likes. Took me 4 weeks to build that back up because I had to build trust back with the algorithm to say I am going to produce that good content again. Then it went back up and kept going up. But if you're over posting, that can turn people off and hurt you in the long run. I find for small businesses, Posting in your feed 2 to 3 times a week for a new brand is fine. You don't want to overburden. Even less than that. Like for some, you'll see, well, she hasn't posted since. That's intentional. I may be doing stories, and stories are less curated, more behind the scenes. That's fine. But that feed, if someone looks at it, it should represent the best you have. You're in a job interview. You're showing your customer the best of your products. If your feed doesn't reflect that, if it's not clean and tight and doesn't look good, they're gone. You know, it's just like a photographer. You go and look at their photography feed and you're like, oh, I guess I really don't want them to take my picture. Even though they might be a good photographer, they don't feature the best and they don't put out the best. I mean, it's an interview every time someone looks at your feed to see whether or not they want to be a part of your brand. So, yeah.
So here's a question that's twofold. Is consistency in posting important, or is sporadic consistency important? Let me explain what I'm saying.
Okay.
So do you post like every Tuesday? So let's say you post 4 times a month, okay? On Tuesday, every week, every Tuesday you post. Or would you go Tuesday one week, Wednesday another week, Monday another week, Thursday another week? Would you do that, or does that make a difference?
So that's a great question, and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to that. It goes back to what your target market wants. So for some, that consistency, especially if you have an older demographic, sometimes that's safe. But my biggest thing is hitting the most people with my posts. So I look at my insights and I go, oh look, my target is mostly on at this time, and I've had the best results at this time. And here in Utah, Sundays are a great day because a lot of things are closed. When I've gone out of state and posted in different places or for different companies that are out of state, I just don't get the same engagement. I get less engagement versus more engagement on the weekend because people are out on the weekends and on Sundays. Versus here, a lot of people are home already on Instagram, family. It's kind of just more of a cultural thing. So yeah, I would base it. I mean, I'm not saying yes or no. I would say this is where A/B testing works out. I can never say a blanket statement across the board. This won't work for your business. But what I can do is make recommendations. And I do know that you have to have searchable terms or people can't find you. Support. I want to keep saying cohabitation. It's not cohabitation. It's co-working. Everyone, there's no cohabitation. Yeah.
When you put a search in, is there a system to get it to coming up in the search list quicker? What's the?
That's the secret of Instagram. I can tell you what I know.
Okay.
Short tail keywords, which would be like, for example, for my dog Clara, a harder tag to use would be dogs. That is going to be 5.5 billion people, right? It's going to be harder to come up. Now, if I did hiking dogs of Utah, I can get her featured because it's a smaller hashtag. They call it long term, but yeah, so not smaller, longer term hashtag. So
Featured means what?
the featured means that, you know, when you pull up your Explorer, there's all those posts in there that you're in there.
Okay.
So you're getting free.
Okay.
Now, it's harder to do that in a post than a story, but I within a week can take the worst business idea, and don't ask me what it is, but I might know. If you want a bad one, I've seen a few and helped them. I'm just kidding. I love them all. No bad. Just more challenging. So I've taken a more challenging business idea, and I've been able to get them featured. And the way that you do it is I had to, first of all, archive and hide most of the stuff in their feed, so it looked really good. Clean up the profile like we talked about, and then I was able to go in the stories, post a great picture, geotag, and then hashtag with the location. For example, location Salt Lake City, hashtag Salt Lake City, and then you'll see a little thing that says you've been featured, and then all of a sudden I have 50 views from people just because I got featured in one of those. Or if they're following the hashtag, it can come up in your feed. So you can follow hashtags, and that hashtag could come up, and that could be your picture. So if I knew the right recipe, I would give it to you, and we would just be featured all day long. So I don't know the recipe for algorithm of Instagram yet, and I don't even know if they ever will give that away. Probably not. That's how they keep. That's
Yeah, so
all.
there's no way to, like on the search results, the whole list of stuff to get at the top. You're just gonna.
More likely if it's longer.
The longer,
Like,
shorter.
Shorter, like dogs, you're less likely to be featured. But if you do get featured, it could be really big. So I mix it up. And then, yeah, longer. And then in the stories especially, that's where I've seen the most traction. And being able to get featured pretty quickly is, you know, you could use a hashtag that's like cute shoes or something like that. but I've just found geographic location is the easiest way.
Yeah, 'cause I was looking at a whole bunch of them and there really isn't any pattern.
I know it does have to do with
Well,
the quality of
words.
content. So if you have, like, you'll probably find that most of those feeds have high engagement, higher followers, high engagement, because they're constantly putting out really great
Okay, so
consistent,
they may be more,
weighed heavily in the algorithm. Kind of like Google, where if you have a big site that gets a lot of traffic and then they link to your site, it helps you. So yeah, I think that that's kind of the same idea that they
kind of like that.
they weigh out. Yeah. Joe, XO Joe Bright.
So when you're like looking at who watched your stories, is that random as well? Or is it like the first person that comes up is like the one engaging the most? Or like how does
Yeah, no, as far as I know, it's random. It may be chronological, but I doubt that because I know that Instagram's trying to stay away from anything chronological because they don't want you to think if you, like in the beginning, that's how it was. You would post and then it'd be chronological. So that's a really great point. You can swipe up on your stories and see who's engaging. And down the road, that's in one of my big tactic classes, is then you go to each one of those people and leave a comment and all of a sudden they've had 2 hits from you. Especially if they look like if they look like a potential customer or target.
Yeah.
So you can see someone, maybe it's a mom, lives in Park City, blah, 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 and you just kind of get an idea and then, anyway, you go to them, leave a comment like, I love that trail outside, love that hike, and all of a sudden they're like, who's Wellness JoJo Utah? Whatever you decide here.
Yeah.
Okay, did we touch about the podcast?
That's what someone's asking to do right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So kind of going back to that, let's go. Did I finish this first? These are the questions. How will you connect and what's the value? You'll read a lot about this. Go to any social media, they're going to talk about value, value, value. And that can be different things. It doesn't necessarily have to be information. It could be entertainment. It could be all these things. The most important thing is that you're producing consistent information to your target audience. I could give another example of what not to do, but we're out of time probably for that. So let's talk about the podcast. Let's go back to the first, is it the first slide that we talked about when it came up? Okay, go to the next one. Go to the one where the Small Business Development Center is up. Here we go. Okay, so the question is, how do I get my podcast / marketing?
Yeah, let me look at it.
Yeah, sorry. And probably what I'm going to say is, this is what I'm going to say, is that have you optimized all of these things, right? And then what is the podcast about? We should know exactly who you're, here we go.
How do I best use Instagram for promoting my new podcast production company and podcasts in general?
Yep. So let's just do a quick brainstorm. This is an easy
So
way
it's
to
a
start.
podcast production company,
Okay.
not necessarily a podcast, but she's trying to get more trying to get more people to do podcasts, right?
So, and then what was the other thing? Does she do podcasts too or no? Or they?
Podcasts in general.
And podcasts. Okay. So I see some key terms here that I would look at first. Podcasts. So she needs for sure, or they need for sure to have podcasts here, right? Now, if she's a production company, meaning they're making the podcast, then that actually, what would we call that? If you were a podcaster and you wanted someone to make a podcast, what would you search for?
Podcast
style,
style.
yes, production probably, or
Podcast production help.
Okay, help. Keep going. What other search?
Advertising podcast network, I don't know.
podcast software, podcast.
Create.
There's a good one. Create podcast. Okay, so then I would brainstorm the crap out of these search terms that people might use. One way to do this is just plug those bad boys in and see what comes up, right? See if they're small. So then you go, okay. Another thing that I do is I go to it's ubersuggest.com, and you can put in even your competitors' URLs, and it'll pop up the keywords that people use to find them. And I just take those
What is that?
keywords.
Uber.
It's Uber Suggest. Yeah. And you get a free, if you don't overuse it like I do, every day you get, so I don't know if you can even see this YouTube world, but you can type in the URL and get ideas about where what search terms people are using to find your competitors' websites. And then it says keywords. You're like, well, I'll just take those and direct them to me. So after you've researched all of this, then you're going to figure out the most logical way to plug this in. So You notice I didn't even ask the name of the podcast company yet, because right now it doesn't even matter to me, especially if it doesn't have the word podcast. So if you're starting a business, think about that. If you don't have a keyword, your little cute bugs and bristles may be a cute name, but we don't know who you are and what you do, and no one will be able to find you. So that's one of my first recommendations. Like, is Paul and Bryce and I have been brainstorming for the name of our podcast, and boy, Bryce really went creative, like Juniper Breeze. And like maybe that'll be our line of set, and then Paul and I are like, the marketing side, we're like, bring it back in. We have to have small business in there, and we want it to be so then all of a sudden some of the creativity, and then we ended up, we're like, and we need to have like Utah, we need, all these things to kind of, so I think we almost came up with the name to be continued, but, so yeah, does that help? I don't know, we don't know.
Here's another question.
Okay.
Should you post multiple pics per post or keep it to one?
That's a great question. That's another A/B testing thing that I would do. I'd mix it up and see. I've read statistics that people are just scrolling through a feed and time is of the essence. They're less likely to swipe anymore because it's work. Any more work we have to do. That's why a like doesn't weigh as heavy as like a save, because a like's just like a one-time thing. A save is like, I'm keeping this forever. Or a comment, it takes like how much work. How much longer it's taking me. So the algorithm's like, wow, someone commented on that. They didn't just click the button to like, so that weighs heavier, and you'll probably organically reach more feeds. Because that's all the algorithm's trying to do is match your search with the best information, like Google. That's the job of these search engines. They want to match exactly what you're searching for to the best content. And what we're trying to do as marketers is produce the best content and make it discoverable so we can be matched.
Someone else asked, do I put hashtags in my bio?
Okay, this is another great question. I used to think this was a good idea because it was kind of a new feature. But what I found was, this was again with the talent agency, because I spent several months there really working out the kinks and helping these clients. And if you put Utah model, hashtag Utah model in your bio, and you've finally gotten people to come, they found you, you did everything else right, they've optimized, they're looking at your beautiful pictures, then they have the hashtag Utah model and they click on it, guess what happens? They just went to the hashtag where everyone else, all the most beautiful people in Utah, used Utah model, and you've just shown them all of your competitors, and you're gone. So that's the question I have: is that hashtag going to lead them to more help you, or was your goal to get them to your Instagram and then go to your shop, or what was the call to action? So I highly recommend not putting in hashtags. Some people will put in like a catchy, cute, like Neater's Bakery. Fun would be their like whatever, because they're like, get your own hashtag. Well, first of all, it's not going to work if people don't even know you or know what the hashtag is, but that's fine. You can do that if you want to. But the second thing is, I'm a competitor. This is something I need to do all the time. Is I'll take that hashtag and use it in my post. So then I'm coming up in there. When people search for their hashtag, I'm like, and here I am too. So I'll even take the names of my competitors. My company was Camera Coats, and then I would do. There was like mod camera, done everything. Hashtag mod, hashtag this camera, hashtag all these other competitors. So I just keep that in mind that you don't own that hashtag. Little ratty people like me are like, oh, thank you. And then I go to their followers.
That's called collaboration.
I call it, no, I like to think so. Just making the world a better place. World peace.
Yeah, someone said, for multiple pictures, sometimes you need a before and after.
Oh yeah, that's fun, sure. Yeah, give them some incentive to swipe. The other thing that does do is it shows the algorithm, like it's some sort of human or something, but it demonstrates that content is strong enough that you would want to swipe. So you are more likely to organically get into more feeds, because now all of a sudden this content that we're trying to produce is getting matched because it's actually something that people want to swipe to see. So that's a really good point. Thank you, YouTubers, livers. How much? I feel like, am I okay on time?
You can keep going for a bit.
I thought it was 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's 9:30 is good.
And it's 9:34. It's 9:33. Well, this was fun.
So if I do a search, I've been searching different names,
Awesome.
and all that comes up are just like the map location. So does that mean those, there are no websites?
There are no Instagram.
There are, at what Instagram?
Yeah, there's no Instagram account closed. So those will come up because they're connected to Facebook, which a lot of businesses already have a Facebook, and Facebook owns Instagram. So we know that Facebook and Google aren't exactly the best of friends, and so they're trying to keep everyone on these platforms. So they're trying to open up. That's why we have Reels, because we're trying to bring in Snapchat. We're trying, not Reels, we're trying TikTok, and same thing with Stories, Snapchat. I mean, all of these things. So they're trying to keep people there. So instead of going to Google to search for a business, now they've incorporated it. So on Instagram, you search and that business will come up, but it's just the location because that business hasn't actually created an account yet. So once you create that account and claim that address, and then it's yours. That's your question.
Are you teaching a class?
Yes, it's right now.
For the SBDC, I mean, in April?
You just missed it.
I mean, you're teaching another class in April though, that people are asking for more.
Yeah, that's a great question. We are yes. We will have something for
I think
you.
it's March.
March?
Maybe March.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about doing different types of classes and series, but if you really want something, please let us know. Maybe you do want a workshop or maybe a longer class. Like I said, even the class I'm teaching with you is a 6-week class, and it's an hour and a half, and you just scrape the surface and then go a little deeper. But as you can tell, there's a lot to talk about, and most of my experiences come from like making all the wrong decisions. So you're welcome. I made a lot of bad choices as I've grown my own business and as I played around with Instagram, social media. I was an early adopter, launched my business in 2011, right when before the algorithms, and so you had to figure out how to connect with your customer without the insights or anyone telling you to. And so my experience comes from like the behind the scenes, the why of why the results are happening. And so that's why I can just kind of stay on why, like some of the things I talked about are the keyword searches. And most people are like, well, you just need to get more followers and post good. And you read these articles all the time, just post good content, do this. Well, that's all great, but if you can't be found, and these are basic things that a lot of social media marketers either don't care or aren't aware of. And so they're easy things to fix, really easy things. So anyway, that's my experience, is I've just had to play around. And then looking for interns for my business, they started a digital marketing program, and I'm like, oh good, I'll go pick out the interns. And you heard how well that went. And so me likes, so I'm like, maybe I do know what I'm doing. So I helped develop a lot of curriculum, business 101, leadership, sales, the whole thing, and then just kind of consulted, taught around, and now I'm here at SBDC, a part of the COVID response team. So come see us if you've been having struggles, challenges, okay, with your business. As much as we'd love to help with all life crisis, this is not, nor am I suited to help anyone with any life struggles at this point. So UtahSBDC.com, it's free. You can become a client. You can request to work with me, or if there's operations, we have the mill. John here, who introduced me, is
UtahSBDC.com or .org?
oh crap, .org.
Okay, that's what I thought.
John, help me.
But we were just,
I
I
was
looked
gonna bring it up, but we're gonna wait till.
I looked at that and I
where
said-
did I do it wrong on
The
here? Oh my gosh!
the congruency showed it down there, and I'm seeing
Do
the
you
address
see
here.
how no one can find us?
You said
You have
UVU.
440 followers, so someone.
I said, wow. She's at UVU, that's good, why's she here?
Where does it, does that say UVU?
They go see you.
Yeah. We're done for it.
Yeah.
Well, and you're
So
gonna
is
make,
attention-
you're gonna make mistakes along the way.
So is attention to detail important with this process?
No, details don't matter. And,
Okay,
and
alright.
actually, if you want to help your friends around the world, just put their URLs. You're welcome, UVU. Scratch my back. Scratch yours. Anyway, okay, we're gonna fix that right now, ladies and gentlemen. And
So it's .org.
It's .org.
Yeah, UtahSBDC.com.
I'm new.
Since 2011, she's new.
That's right. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I appreciate your feedback,
Best
your
Instagram
insights, and your
class
help.
ever.
Thank you. Good grief.
Thank you so much, Ash.
Ooh.
Actually, except for-
Emily, Ashley,
Well,
I know it's
I know, no, don't.
You also get the wrong data.
No, that's what I was saying. I was, no. Anyways, thanks guys for participating. We keep following us on Facebook and Instagram. We need to get an Instagram account, right?
Make us switch right. Come on.
Okay. So we'll start promoting this online. So like we said, if you have any other wants, desires for classes, let us know. I think we're getting ready to do a LinkedIn class coming up, and taxes for next year. So let us know. If not, be safe out there. Have a great Thanksgiving.
It's fixed.org, John.
If you lift this up, I can just stretch it out. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, that's.
We were going to